I'm Maria with 5 counties. I'm the RSVP director, so I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Rebby Burdett. I've not met Rebby in person, but I've had a lot of different classes with her, and she's awesome. I can't wait to meet her in person. So one day, Rebby. But I want to give you a little bit of information about her. She is the Self-Management Program Coordinator for Intermountain Healthcare. She's been a nurse for the last 24 years and has degrees in both nursing and health administration and health promotion from Weber State University. She's also a certified yoga instructor. That was new to me, Rebby. We'll have to talk. She is a member of the American Society of Pain Management Nurses and is on the advisory committee of the Live Well Coalition with the Utah Department of Health Arthritis Program. Rebby has 2 adult children who still manage to keep her very busy, even though they're no longer at home. And in her free time, she loves to travel, be outside, hiking, running, and doing yoga. She enjoys cooking and finding the best food, no matter where in the world she happens to be. Rebby's full of energy and incredibly passionate about helping people manage pain. It's our pleasure to have her with us today to present this breakout session. I get to show one quick slide. Getting to know Rebby, she sent me this.
I'm a little nervous about what the slide is, Maria. I'm not gonna lie.
She showed, okay, hold on. Let me show you. That's the wrong piece. She shared with us, Tracy and myself, just how, and there we go. She shared with us how she does shopping because she happens to be short. I would not have known that because we're on Zoom all the time. So she sent this to me and I'm like, oh, that's how you do yoga up on the shelves, huh? But she has been an absolute delight to work with us in these chronic disease classes. And so now I'm going to turn the time over to you, Rebby. Thanks.
Thanks, Maria. I'll share my screen and I'll get back at you for that one, Sunshine, at some point. So like Maria says, my name is Rebby Burdett. I do work for Intermountain Healthcare. It has been a lot of fun getting to know everybody and to be doing what I do. If you have any questions during the presentation, please put them in the chat. Maria is going to be watching. If we don't have an opportunity to get to them, I have been assured that I will get the questions so that I can get back to you with the responses. But I do hope we have enough time to be able to get to those. So, as many of you can probably attest, life comes with its fair share of aches and pains. But we want to know, what do we do? What happens when that pain becomes more than the occasional ache? What happens when those occasional aches stick around and we start having long-term pain? Are there any actions that we can take to be able to continue to enjoy our life, to be able to continue doing the things that we want? Right? Life happens in those moments that are between doctor's visits, that are between treatments. And it's these moments where using self-management can really help us. So self-management has long been recognized as being a part of an integrated care model for both chronic pain and other long-term chronic conditions. Self-management is defined as taking responsibility for one's own behavior and well-being. So this means taking steps or making changes that can improve our overall health. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to abandon all of the treatments that our providers want us to do, but that just means that we are going to do things that help support those treatments and will make them even more effective. It also means that we are going to become more active and take more of an active role in our healthcare treatments by making choices in our day-to-day lives, by interacting with our healthcare providers, and by giving them feedback on what we're experiencing and what's going on. So before we get too far into this, I want I want to do an activity. And you see this beautiful picture of a lemon on your screen. So what we're going to do, now that you've got this solidly in your head, I want everyone to close your eyes. I know you're thinking, yeah, I'm sitting in front of a TV or a computer screen. This is kind of lame, but just go with me for a minute. I want everybody to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you are holding that big, bright yellow slice of lemon. Okay, picture that in your mind. You can feel the texture of that lemon, that almost waxy surface with those small indentations. Now I want you to imagine you're pulling that up to your nose and you're going to smell that strong citrus aroma. Next, you're going to bring that lemon slice to your mouth and you're going to take a big bite of that lemon. And that tartness, that juice is going to explode through your entire mouth and you feel that juice dribbling down your chin. All right, now everyone open your eyes and using the emojis, I hope that you can. If you don't, just give me a thumbs up, hand raise. Did anyone's mouth water? Did anybody have that salivation? Come on, 5 County, I can see you in that room. Anybody have that? There you are. Yeah, we're getting some thumbs up. We had some people whose mouth definitely salivated. All right, so moment of truth. Whose body completely did the total body shivers and the pucker? Yeah, Pam's like, yes, that happens. That happens to me nearly every time I go through this exercise. It's craziness. So knowing how none of us actually were holding on to a lemon, isn't it pretty interesting and I guess ironic that our bodies responded as though we were having that experience? So that will kind of lead us into the next part of our conversation. So remember this in the back of our minds. So now let's quick and talk about pain. I mean, you can't have a lecture on pain without actually talking about it. So this is going to be a gross simplification of a very complex process, but I want to give us kind of a basis so that we can continue on with some of the conversations so that it will make more sense. So as you know, we have nerves throughout our body. And these nerves are the messengers that bring the signals from our body up to our brains regarding various stimuli that our body is experiencing. And it's actually our brain's job to interpret what those stimuli or what those signals mean, and if any action needs to be taken. So, for example, when we touch a hot stove, these little messengers come up and say, hey, there's this noxious stimuli down in the area of the hand, and the brain immediately says, yeah, that's danger. There's some harm going on. You're going to move your hand. And that hurts. So once we move our hand or once that burn heals, those sensations that are saying, hey, there's damage, cease and our body no longer experiences pain. Now, in the case of chronic pain, our nerves continually send signals to our brain. Now, this might be a result of disease or continuous tissue damage, like, for instance, someone with arthritis whose joints are in a constant state of disrepair. Or other times, those nerves just continue to send signals to the brain, even in the absence of any tissue damage. The pain response remains the same, but there's no physical cause. Now, this really makes pain difficult to treat, as you can well imagine. So the area of our brain, this is where this all comes into play. The area of our brain where our nerves distinguish those signals and interpret what they mean is also the same area of the brain that processes our thoughts, our emotions, our stress level. So it makes sense that those things can impact our pain experience and influence how our brain interprets that. So by a raise of hands, has anyone ever noticed that seemingly unrelated things like depression or anxiety or your stress level or other difficult emotions impact your pain? Have you ever noticed that? Yeah, I see people in the 5 County room raising their hands. I see some thumbs up. Yeah, definitely. So that brings in this chronic pain symptom cycle. So as most cycles are, they go round and round. So each of the different symptoms are noted here actually play on each other and make each other, worse. So for example, stress and anxiety can lead to muscle tension, holding muscles tense, which can lead to poor sleep or ineffective breathing. Poor sleep can then lead to fatigue and restricted muscle movement. Decreased movement can lead to ineffective breathing and depression. Depression can lead to difficult emotions, which can cause stress and anxiety. So, I mean, you get the picture. We're just going to go around and around, bouncing back and forth from each of these different symptoms, and it just kind of spirals. So what we need to do is we need to have some tools in our toolbox, in our day-to-day, between those moments and visits and treatments, that we can break that symptom cycle. So let's talk about a couple of tools that we can do that are simple, that are easy to just do day to day. So distraction and relaxation. And as you recall from our activity with the lemon, your brain has a lot of power and control over your body. So let's look at some of the ways that we can harness that power. So distraction. Our brain is a lot like a radio. You can get many stations, but you can really only get one station that comes in clearly at a time. So if our mind is completely focused on our pain, that tends to be more intense. Our pain experience is a little bit stronger than if our mind was focused elsewhere. So distraction can be used to take our mind away from the pain. Now, I'm not saying that your pain is going to go away completely, but your pain experience is going to be lessened. So distraction is a great tool when you are trying to do a short-term activity that causes pain or maybe a difficult emotion like anxiety. So going up and down stairs, I know is hard for a lot of people. So a short-term distraction can be used while you're going up or down the stairs. Maybe you have a lot of anxiety around going to sleep because maybe you wake up at night and have trouble going back to sleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep. So there's some anxiety around the process of going to bed. You think, oh my word, here's another sleepless night coming my way. I don't know why I bother. But by using some of these distractions, again, we can take our minds away from that. So I'm going to throw out a couple of examples of what short-term distraction could look like. If you guys have other ideas, please put them in the chat. So some examples of short-term distraction might be counting backwards by threes. I don't know if any of you are like me, but I have trouble counting forwards by threes. So if I'm going to count backwards by threes, it's going to take nearly all of my brain capacity. Another example might be thinking of the name of a flower or a car for every letter of the alphabet. Again, you're just trying to distract your mind while you're doing that activity. You might even come up with your shopping list, kind of review it in my name in that time. Other things that can be used as distraction are talking to somebody on the phone. So maybe you're walking down the stairs or walking up the stairs, talking on the phone, or while you're gardening, you might listen to an audiobook or listen to music. So I will put this disclaimer out there. If you're having chest pain, please don't try to use a distraction technique. That would be a 911 phone call. Now, relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, guided imagery, and body scans. So these are 3 relaxation techniques that we can also use to decrease our pain experience. Now, deep breathing has been shown to decrease muscle tension, reduce stress levels, and as you recall, those are 2 of the symptoms on that chronic pain symptom cycle. They soothe the nervous system, they slow the heart rate, and deep breathing is one of those really easy things that can be done anywhere, and it's free. So there are several different types of breathing techniques, but one of the easiest ones to start out with if you're new to deep breathing is just pursed lip breathing. So this is where you take a slow inhale and then purse your lips like you're blowing out candles on a birthday cake, and then slowly letting the air seep out through your breath. And taking a couple of minutes to just focus on slow, deep breaths in and slow, deep breaths out. Now, if you start to notice that you're becoming lightheaded, you're exhaling too quickly. And your exhale is typically a little longer than your inhale. The next one on the list is guided imagery. So guided imagery is like taking a guided daydream. right? It helps your mind shift to a place of relaxation, or maybe someplace that you've been that has just been very enjoyable. That might be the beach for some people, that might be the mountains for other people. But you really think of all of those small details involved in being in that place. So that might be the feeling of the sand between your toes, or the smell of pine if you're in the mountains. By mentally immersing yourself in that place, your body is able to relax and focus on the joy that it brings of being in that location. Guided imagery is also a nice distraction for some situations, like when we talked about the anxiety about going to sleep. I know I typically have a hard time sleeping, so this is actually one that I use right before I go to sleep. I listen to a guided imagery and I'm able to relax, and oftentimes I drift off to sleep right then, but it kind of sets the tone for getting my body relaxed and ready for sleep. Now, body scans are a little different. Body scans are done by focusing your mind on muscle groups that make up various parts of your body, and then consciously relaxing those muscles. So oftentimes you start at your feet and work your way up until you get to the muscles around your eye and even into your scalp. Now, some people find that it's helpful to actually tighten those muscles and then relax them. And this is helpful because then you know that those muscles are actually relaxing. And it's really interesting to find that sometimes, again, we are holding our muscles tense in areas of our body that we don't realize. And so doing this, again, really helps to bring awareness to that muscle tension. So if you're interested in trying either guided imagery or body scans, there's a lot of free recordings online, or there's ones that you can purchase that will help to guide you through those exercises. I had hoped to do one together, but I don't want to run over on time, and we got started a little late, so we're going to have to not do that, which I'm quite sad about, actually. Pacing and planning is another technique used by people with chronic pain or long-term pain to really help coordinate their day and manage their day-to-day activities. So many people with chronic pain really struggle between having a balance between activity and rest. So pacing and planning is really a game changer for people with long-term pain. Now, perfecting this skill allows you to keep yourself in control and not the pain. So let's talk about two classic scenarios. All right, so this is the cycle of underdoing activity. Does this look familiar to anyone? Thumbs up, thumbs down, hands raised. There you go. So some people have found themselves avoiding physical activity altogether. And this is mainly because in early stages of their pain, people started resting, hoping that that might improve their pain. But by resting too much or too long, their muscle strength has decreased. So when they start doing physical activity again, they find that they have more muscle soreness. So they reduce their activity again, lose more muscle strength, have more pain. And again, here we are in a cycle again, right? These cycles, dang it. But this can just continue to go round and round. One of the things that I learned when teaching some classes are we lose 10 to 20% of our muscle strength just by being inactive for 1 week. I personally found that horrifying. Yeah, I see the eye roll and the head toss and oh my word, we didn't even realize. But it's actually more harmful for us to be inactive. So if you have been inactive for a while, your muscles will be weak. Your joints may be stiff. And so it's important to understand the difference between hurt and harm. So this is when having those great conversations with your healthcare provider before starting new activities so that you can talk and say, hey, I'm worried about doing harm. And they can kind of guide you or say, no, that activity should be safe for your situation. Now, each of us is going to be independent. Each of us is going to have a unique situation. And that's why it's important to really bring that conversation with your healthcare provider into place so we don't do harm. But we understand that sometimes we might have a little bit of hurt. Now let's look at the opposite side, overdoing activity. All right, who's guilty of this? I know that, yep, I know I am definitely guilty of this. So this happens when we are so focused on accomplishing that goal that we push ourselves through the pain in order to finish the task. But then afterward, we are exhausted. We have a ton of pain. We collapse, and we have to take time to recover. And that process can take a long time. It can be very frustrating and oftentimes depressing. But then we feel better, and we are all about going into throwing ourselves into an activity again. So what can we do about these two different issues? Well, here are some things that we might be able to do. This is where pacing and planning comes in. We can start by paying attention and keeping tabs. So if we are able to understand how much time we can spend doing a certain activity before the pain gets too bad, we can either take a break or stop doing that activity before we get to that point. And that way, we're in control of what's going on. It's not the pain saying you have to stop. We make that conscious choice. I'm going to stop doing this activity here because I know if I extend it, that's when I'm going to have some pain. But in order to find these things out, we really have to pay attention. So keeping a journal is a great way that we can keep track of that, but also spot trends. So how we are doing, how we feel after certain activities, how long we spend doing certain activities. And we need to do this for both activity and rest. So if we find that, I rest for 4 hours, but then I'm sore when I start doing things the next day, we might want to say, okay, maybe next time we don't rest for 4 hours. Maybe that's the thing that we want to decrease. So really paying attention, spending more time. Oftentimes, we're not able to, necessarily take a break. So changing what we're doing. If we are, let's say we're gardening and we want to, continue to get down and doing that, but we know we're not able to continue doing that for an extended period of time. Maybe we get up and we prune the tree, or we go in and start an activity inside. So changing the activity can be as good as a break. Now, there are situations where you can't just take a break, right? You can't just go and sit on the couch and rest for a little bit. So again, changing activities. So if you work in an office, that might be standing up off the chair, raising the height of your computer so that you can stand for a while. Let's see. Also, breaking activities up. So we're not trying to tackle everything all at once. So if we decide, the house needs to be vacuumed, take it a room at a time and either plan a break or schedule it out over a couple of hours or even a couple of days. If you have a lot on your to-do list, make sure that you do the things that are most important to you first. That way you feel okay about taking a break or saying, I can't do the rest today, but I can start tomorrow. And then the last thing, and oftentimes the most important thing, is learning how to say no. Now, this helps for you to be able to set healthy boundaries and stay in control of your pain, but it also helps the people around you to understand what your needs and your limits are, and they can help to support you in that. So, physical activity, and this can be kind of intimidating for some, but motion really is lotion, and it's important to stay active and to stay moving. Now, we talked about earlier when we underdo activity and how we lose muscle strength. So that really is important. So let's talk about the three main types of physical activity. First, there's flexibility, and this comes with stretching and things like yoga and Tai Chi. But these are important because it helps to improve our balance and our coordination. And as we get older, falls become more of a risk. So really that balance and coordination becomes more and more important. Stretching and flexibility also help to prepare the body for doing maybe some of our other activities. So you can do flexibility exercises on their own, or before you dive into maybe strengthening exercises. Now, strengthening exercises help to build muscle, help them to be stronger, and it's typically done against weight or some type of resistance. There's no need to be overly fancy about this. Grabbing a couple of cans of soup and lifting and moving around, maybe sitting down and standing up while holding them, or a couple of jugs of milk. So there's no need to run out and have to buy a gym membership or fancy equipment. You can use things around the house or your own body weight. That can also serve as that weight. Even pushing a shopping cart or a baby carriage, that's weight, and you've got to be pushing it forward. So bring normal activities in. I think we get so hung up on, oh, I have to go to the gym and I have to lift weights. That doesn't always need to happen. Let's look at some of the activities that we're doing in our day-to-day lives and rethink how we're looking at physical activity. Now, the last one is endurance or aerobic exercises. Now, these are activities that increase your heart rate and work most of your body. Now, these are also the physical activities that release our body's natural painkillers called endorphins. So this can be like hiking, biking, swimming, or just a few examples. But grocery shopping, walking in the mall, things like that definitely can get our heart rate up as well. The most important thing to remember, though, with physical activity is to start where you are. This isn't something that you need to be competing with other people or, my doctor says I have to do, 40 minutes of this. You don't need to start with that. That can be an end goal, but start where you are. Remember your pacing and planning skills. Remember to keep journals and keeping track. You want to stay in control of your pain and not the other way around. Many of these activities can be adjusted. So has anyone, give me a thumbs up or hands up, told you, you should try yoga? Yep. And your mind immediately goes to this. So this doesn't need to be what yoga is. In fact, it typically isn't. But we all think yoga is only for those people who are flexible. It's only for those people who are thin. It's only for those people who are this, that, or the other. So we need to immediately disassociate that. Yoga is great for increasing flexibility, but you don't need to be flexible in order to do it. And many people often don't realize that there are many different types of yoga, and some yoga might be better for certain people. So if you are starting out in yoga, talk to your healthcare provider, find out what sort of activities you can and cannot do. But then call some of the studios in your area, have a conversation, say, what type of yoga do you offer? Oftentimes it's senior centers and other yoga studios will offer classes specific for seniors. So there's chair yoga or there's yoga for seniors. Start and call the different studios in your area and ask what type of yoga they offer. Look online. There are many, many free yoga classes for seniors out there on YouTube. There's just a ton of them. And oftentimes, well, not even oftentimes, every posture in yoga can be adapted for flexibility and body strength. So always ask if you're in a yoga class and you feel like I cannot do that, ask for a modification. And remember, always talk to your healthcare provider before starting something new. Continuing to learn and to stay curious not only keeps our mind sharp, but it allows us to learn new techniques. So some of the techniques that I talked to you about today are taught in the Living Well with Chronic Pain Self-Management program. So these are programs that are free. You may have heard them. I know Leslie mentioned them. They are taught at many senior centers throughout the state. Right now, most of them are being taught virtually. And if you think, oh man, I just don't know if I can handle another Zoom or the technology is just too much, they're also offered over the phone. So you just call in and talk with a leader. All of these classes and some physical activity classes are also being, no, I don't want to close the breakout room, but we're going to apparently in 116 seconds. So I better talk faster. All of these classes and other physical activity classes are found at the livingwell.utah.gov website. And most of the classes there are free. So if you have not visited that website, I do encourage you to do so. I did want to just point out some feedback that we have had from some of our people who have participated. This is Arvin, and he attended class and said that he was able to learn ways to manage and live with his chronic pain so that he could still enjoy a more fulfilling and satisfying life. We all know that chronic pain isn't something that we're going to be able to make go away completely. But again, it's those moments between where life happens. And that's where we need to be able to use our self-management to be able to still enjoy life. Yes, we may need to modify. Life might look different now than it did before when you did not have pain, but that does not mean that life has to be any less enjoyable. So there's 30 seconds left. Stop sharing my screen so that I can hopefully answer a few last minute questions. Maria, did we have anything come in the chat? You are on mute. I think I'm going to get a t-shirt. That's the t-shirt for 2020. You're on mute.
Okay, how's that?
Much better.
Okay, we just had some answers to your questions. Yes, yes, me, such as that, but nothing right now. So if you guys have questions, this is the time to ask.
Ooh, 8 seconds. But if not, write them in the chat and I will answer them. But I thank all of you for coming